Welcome you to the notice of a special meeting today at 6:30 p.m. Let the record reflect it's like 6:37. Notice is hereby given that at the Colum and Riley Rogers Village of Dolton Board of Trustees will hold a special meeting at the new Village Hall, 14122 Chicago Road, on Monday, March 19th at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to call to order this meeting. Why don't we start with the roll call?
Trustee Muhammad?
Here.
Trustee Stubbs?
Here.
Trustee House?
Here.
Trustee Denton?
Present.
Trustee Pearson?
Present.
Trustee Henyard?
Okay, 5 members of the board are here. Village Attorney Murphy will not be here tonight. Has anyone heard from Trustee Henyard? She's not here. And our village engineer will not be present tonight. Okay, if everyone will stand for our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we remain standing, I ask that our Janice, what is your title? Director of Administration. Janice, lead us in prayer tonight.
Lord, we come to you tonight for a nice and smooth meeting. Amen.
That was pretty smooth. Right to the point. Okay, thank you, Janice. Okay. This special meeting is a meeting that we have to talk about new business, which is a resolution for community development block grant. You have anything else, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay. On this agenda, we have item A, resolution number 18R-004. Authorizing the execution of application for the 2018 Community Development Block Grant Program for this year. Okay, can I get a motion to, do we really need to discuss it? We need to vote on it?
Need a motion and a second first.
Okay, a motion to approve the authorization of the execution of the application for the 2018 Community Development Block Grant.
I'd like to make a motion for resolution number 18R-004, authorizing the execution of the application for 2018 Community Development Block Grant CDBG program year.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned to accept the authorization of execution of application resolution number 18R-004 for the 2018 Community Development Block Grant. Any discussion on this? No discussion. Roll
Yes.
call. Go ahead.
I had questions, but our engineer is not here, so I don't know how we can get this answered if he's not here. No one is here to represent him?
No.
Because there are some blocks that are designated, and, well, I guess it's a moot point if he can't answer them. Disregard.
Okay.
Mayor, do you know the blocks?
I don't. We really kind of left it up to the engineer. I know he picked out one block specific that was in front of Deekman School that.
No, the blocks are illustrated. There are about a half a dozen, but it's in the email, the blocks that are designated, but
Oh, okay, he picked them up. Okay.
it's about a half a dozen of them.
No, there were 5. There were 5. Last year, our block grant was $200,000. I think we repaired 4 blocks. On this particular estimation, or the document that was submitted by Robinson was, as you see it, you should have it in front of you, or don't you?
Trustees, if you have your copy, you see the illustration, the map, a few pages in, and then the illustrations of the streets. And then the next page, you see the breakout from Mr. Smith for the streets.
Again, I stated I have all of that and I've seen it, but I have questions, and if he's not here, it's,
Well, for those trustees who did not identify the streets, they are again in that packet after the illustrations. And, Mayor, for the record?
Yeah. Okay. For the record, it's calling for the resurfacing of 4 streets. Priorities: 158th Street from Greenwood to East End. Second one is Meadow Lane from 152nd to 153rd. Third is 157th Street from East End to Cornell. And the fourth is Dorchester Avenue from 147th Street to 152nd Street.
I'm sorry, Mayor, what did you say about East End? What blocks of East End again?
157th Street. That's East-West Street from East End to Cornell. And I think we're going to have to make an adjustment here because they're calling for the resurfacing of Dorchester from 147th to 152nd. Now, that should be from Sibley to 152nd, because at Sibley there, it's actually 151st Street.
From Sibley to,
152nd. At times, Sibley is called 147th Street. In some areas, it is 147th Street, but that particular area, it's 151st to 152nd. Because Dorchester was done a few years back, from 147th to 148th. Okay, any further discussion?
I just have a question, Mayor.
Okay.
How were the streets selected again?
Matt, we took the opinion of the engineer.
Ron Smith went out, it was late last week, rode through the areas. This one we tried getting done last year by the school. The 151st block of Dorchester is terrible by the school, so I had took them by that one, showed them that, and from there they go out and they analyze the streets and go from there.
So is it safe to assume that the streets that are being done here are the worst streets in the village?
Well, they're the ones I've been up and down all of them with the engineer, and they are pretty bad. If you have another one, let me know. We'll go take a ride out there and see what we can do for adjustments.
I know some of these streets are the ones we got the most complaints on. Any further? No further roll call.
On the motion to approve Resolution 18R-004, Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that Trustee Henry has joined us 5 minutes ago. Okay. 6 ayes, motion carries. Next thing on the agenda is citizens' address, and this citizens' address is just limited to this street application for the block grant. If there's no citizens that would like to approach this board in regards to this matter, then we will get a motion to adjourn this special meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to adjourn this special board meeting. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad.
aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henry.
Aye.
Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned. Now we'll go right into our regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. This is a committee of the whole meeting for March 19th. Let the record reflect that we are starting this meeting at 6:47. I'd like you to call to order, roll call, and then call to order. We're going to call to order this meeting.
For the Committee of the Whole, Trustee Muhammad.
Here.
Trustee Stubbs.
Here.
Trustee House.
Here.
Trustee Denton.
Present.
Trustee Pearson.
Present.
Trustee Henyard.
Present.
All members of the board are here. We have a quorum. We're going to skip over the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer. We've done that already. Any general announcements? Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay. Order of business. The first item on the agenda is item A, and that's a presentation from ShotSpotter. And this was actually put on the agenda by Chief Collins. I think they made a presentation before, Chief?
Right, a few months ago in our training room. It wasn't
Okay.
public.
All right, great. This is Miss Trish Lane from ShotSpotter.
Thank you, Mayor Riley.
Okay.
And that is correct. I'm Trish Lane with ShotSpotter. I'm a Midwest director for them. Thank you also to the trustees and, of course, to Chief Collins for the kind invitation to present to you this evening. What I would like to do is take a minute and do what I call setting the table a little bit. While ShotSpotter is a technology solution, it often helps to put it into context for folks so that you can understand the value of it as a tool.
You know, Miss Lane, can you get a little closer to the mic? Just pull it close to you. The mic. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. Is that better?
Yes.
Thank you. It's a tool that the police department can use in its battle against gun violence. So putting it into context helps with that just a little bit. So to start with that, I'd like to talk about three things. One of those is that when we talk to municipalities, whether it's police executives or elected officials, they often tend to be hyper-focused on homicides. Now, that's an important figure and certainly tragic, but it doesn't paint the total picture of gun violence in a given neighborhood. We like to encourage the municipalities that we deal with to look at non-fatal shootings as one of the metrics as to the depths of their gun violence problem. And I'm going to give you a graphic that illustrates this a little bit. So at ShotSpotter, we did a study of our customers. There's 95 approximately across the country. And in areas where there's ShotSpotter coverage, for every homicide, there were 10 victims with non-fatal gunshot wounds. There were 129 shooting incidents and almost 400 rounds fired.
Excuse me, Ed, can you show the screen up there? No, with the camera.
I'll put that in there.
Got you. Okay, thanks.
I'll supply that after.
Okay.
So that is a lot of gunfire or gun violence that goes on for every homicide for 10 non-fatal shootings. And folks in neighborhoods, law-abiding citizens who are not engaged in criminal activity, are having to deal with this on a daily basis. The other thing that we like to talk with folks about is that it's really a handful of shooters in these neighborhoods that are responsible for the gun violence. It's an addressable problem. We've looked at what academics study, and they'll tell you that it's 0.5% of the population in any given area that is really responsible for shootings. While a lot of kids will pick up a gun, they will not all fire it. It is a handful that will. They'll get the gun and test it because they bought it illegally. They can't take it to the range to test it, so they'll do it in their neighborhood. They'll use it to intimidate other folks in the neighborhood, fight over a social media post or a girl, or some sort of old beef. But it really is just a handful of folks in these neighborhoods that are shooting guns. They're just shooting them a lot before they ever strike flesh or kill someone. The other thing we like to point out, is that folks call 911 when there's gunfire less than 20% of the time. New York City did a study of their own, and they came up with 20%. The Brookings Institute did a study of Milwaukee and Washington, D.C., and they were in the low teens. Area clients of ours, like South Bend, Indiana, did a study when they implemented ShotSpotter. That figure was 11%. Cincinnati, Ohio went live with our solution last summer, and in the time that they went live, they're at 14%. People do not call 911. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. People don't call 911 because they don't recognize the sound as gunfire. They think someone closer to that event who heard it better is going to call the police, and they don't. They worry that when they call 911, the police are going to send a squad car to their home. And then next time, when there's shooting, it will be at them for retaliation. Or, worst of all, they don't call 911 because the police didn't come the last 10 times. So they think they don't come to that neighborhood when there's gunfire. Part of the problem with that is when people do call, the 20% of the time, people can't locate gunfire. We do presentations all across the country and talk to folks, and we'll ask law enforcement professionals in a room whether on patrol they heard gunfire and could place it, and you'd be surprised at how few hands actually get raised. Sound does funny things, and it's just really hard to pinpoint where things come from. So even that 20%, when they call 911, the police can't find it. They're on the wrong block. So that neighborhood that's dealing with persistent gunfire does not see a response when there's a shooting event. Whoops, I'll go back. Went a little too fast there. So one of the other things we talk with folks about, when you live in a neighborhood and you deal with a lot of gun violence, police, they don't come, right? You think they know everything. There's signs on the freeways for click it or ticket, or drive sober, or get pulled over. There's police procedurals every night of the week on television. And at the end of every single hour, what happens? They solve the crime. They know everything. There's deterrent value in that can help police officers. But at the end of the day, the public thinks they know there's gunfire. And if they know and the police don't come, the conclusion that they come to is that they don't care. And that is not the case. You all care, the chief cares, his officers care. But that 20% of the time, they may not know where the gunfire really is, so they're in the wrong location, and there's 80% of the time that they do not know about. And that's where ShotSpotter can help, helping you to build a new model of trust between the police and the community. So now that we've talked about the circumstances, I'd like to talk about the solution for a few minutes. And there's 3 things that we talk about. We detect gunfire accurately. We provide a mechanism for to better protect the police so they can better protect the community. And we provide a way for the police to connect with the community. So to explain how the solution works and deal with the detect piece of this, I'm going to play a video for you.
A gun is fired somewhere. So what happens now? In the past, there was a slim chance the shooting would be reported to police at all. Even when it took precious time, and there was often confusion regarding the location of the shooting and other pertinent information. At least, that's how things were. ShotSpotter has changed all that. By utilizing advanced technology, we have automated the process. We monitor gunfire activity 24/7 throughout the world. Now, if a gun is fired in any area worldwide with ShotSpotter coverage, our system detects, locates, and immediately alerts police of the gunshot. So, how does it work? It starts with sensors. In every area with ShotSpotter coverage, specialized acoustic sensors are placed on buildings or lampposts throughout a neighborhood. If a gun is fired anywhere in the area, multiple sensors detect and timestamp the sound. The precise location of the gunshot is determined based on the amount of time it takes for the sound of the gunshot to travel to each individual sensor, effectively triangulating the sound. The exact location of the detected gunshot is indicated by a dot on a map. That location is derived from a sophisticated set of algorithms using multilateration, time difference of arrival, and triangulation based on arrival calculations to generate math-based intersecting hyperbolae. Fortunately, you don't have to worry about that. We do it all for you. Once an alert is generated, it is immediately sent to our IRC, or Incident Review Center, where trained acoustic experts then analyze each incident in mere seconds, determining if the sound is gunfire. SST acoustic analysts receive extensive training on reviewing and classifying gunfire by distinguishing gunshots from other impulsive sounds that are not gunshots. In addition, they are trained to append additional contextual information, such as multiple shooter alerts or full automatic weapons alerts, that can prove to be essential tactical intelligence for law enforcement agencies responding to these crimes. The entire transaction takes place in just 30 to 45 seconds. With the real-time ShotSpotter alerts, police can immediately be dispatched to the scene. Utilizing the gunfire audio clip and tactical information, officers can approach an exact location quickly and safely to engage the shooter, interview witnesses, and collect key evidence at the crime scene. ShotSpotter has also launched a new mobile app for anytime access anywhere to gunfire alerts, providing law enforcement the flexibility to receive real-time alerts quickly and effectively without having to be tied to their patrol car or laptop. The ShotSpotter alert system is an invaluable tool in the area of crime fighting, helping make communities safer, as well as reducing risk for police officers.
So that's how we detect gunfire. Now, we also protect officers, and there are a couple different ways that we do this, but for the purposes of this discussion, I'm only going to cover one of them, and it's probably one of the most key areas that we protect them. So, and I'm going to use a diagram on the screen to illustrate this. So let's say in the center of the screen there is a shooting. And let's say that on the left side, or I'm sorry, the right side of the screen, there's a house, and that person is going to call 911. They're going to talk to the dispatcher, and a squad car is going to come from the left side of the screen. That squad car is going to go to the caller's house. That's where you go when you get a 911 call. And when that car does that, they're going to drive right through the threat zone where the shooting occurred without even knowing it. And we do that to our officers every day, all day. Instead, with ShotSpotter, what you will get is a unique sound on your mobile device in the car, your cell phone, PDA if you have one, that gets you to look at your screen. It doesn't sound like anything else on your phone or computer. And you'll get a display just like this one. What this gives you is a little bubble in the middle that shows 15 rounds fired, a bigger circle, which is actually our 25-meter radius, where officers can search for ground truth, meaning shell casings, victims, or witnesses. On the left side of the screen, you'll get the closest address. You'll get any comments, if there's any entered by the local dispatch center. You will get comments entered by our folks in the Incident Review Center that you heard talked about in the video. And in this case, it's multiple shooter and high capacity. And they can replay that audio. There's also a little person icon that you can click on to do Google Street View. If you do that to get a landmark, if you're not familiar with an area, I know in Dolton that's probably not too common, but if you work with task forces, it might be. Folks that come in to assist from other agencies. So the officer will get an exact dot on the map of where to go, where that gunfire is, within 30 to 45 seconds. Giving them that statistical or situational awareness. Lastly, we help the police department connect with the community, and there's a couple of different ways that we do this. First, I'm showing you a map that is actually, if you click on one of those bubbles, you get the last screen that you saw. But the power in this display is that you can use it at community meetings to justify flooding an area with police resources. The chief can tell folks, I'm not there indiscriminately targeting people. I am there because that's where the gunfire is, and that's where I need to go to keep people safe. It's more data-driven policing. The other thing you can do with this map is use it with school officials to show them, all right, we've had some shootings in this area, what kids live here? Maybe we should reach out to them, pull them out of class, get them some trauma-informed care. So it gives you a pretty valuable tool in both of those cases to reach out to the community. Lastly, what it can do is, instead of seeing nothing, if folks start to see this kind of response, a robust response from the Village of Dolton Police Department, crime scene tape, people collecting evidence, talking to witnesses, treating victims if need be, and then, as we recommend all our clients do, and certainly the most successful do, they ring the doorbells, houses 2 and 3 in every direction, and check on those residents. Even if it can't be that evening, they can certainly do it the next day and let them know, hey, we're checking on you. We know this is traumatic. We want to make sure you're okay. Do you want to talk to a police officer? They may or may not have any witness information, but just that outreach, that conversation that the chief would love to be having with all his citizens, it creates an opportunity for that. So that's how ShotSpotter can help change that narrative from the police don't care to the police are there. To close, I'd like to show you guys a quick video of some of the mayors from some of our customer cities talking about how ShotSpotter is used in their community.
When I think about ShotSpotter, I think of a tool that every mayor and every city truly needs. Because if one can use 21st century technology to assist with one of urban America's most pressing problems, that being gun violence, why would one not take advantage of that?
ShotSpotter is a very, very essential tool for any police department. It gets our officers to the scene as soon as they hear the radio calls come out for shots fired. They're there so rapidly. It was something that I'm impressed with when I was given a demonstration by the Washington, D.C. police several years ago.
This gives us data-driven policing in real time. So we can get our police officers to where they're needed as quickly as we can. It's been a great addition to the city of Milwaukee.
Having technologies such as the ShotSpotter has helped us to pinpoint and also to gather data and trends so that our police department can prepare and be proactive in responding to public safety issues.
1 in 20 times do individuals actually call the police when a gun is fired. ShotSpotter does it every single time, and so it's really important for our police work that the police know when the shots are fired and they follow up.
It also provides us with a tool as we begin to interview potential witnesses. They don't have to say, I called. We can say, we got called by ShotSpotter. We know that this shot was fired from this particular location. Do you have any additional information?
I think it makes the community feel safer. They know that when we hear those calls go out, the ShotSpotter has picked up shots. Our cars are there a lot faster, and people in the community do know that because, word of mouth things do get around. And I think our officers feel comfortable because 99% of the time when the calls for shots fired that are going out, they're correct. There's no flaws.
From 2012 to 2013, we've seen a reduction of 51% in homicides, and I believe it was 78% reductions in gunshots that particular year. So again, ShotSpotter has helped us a great deal in our policing efforts in the city of Camden and to help us carry forth our mission of making our citizens safe.
We need to have that technology that will help us go in and make these neighborhoods safer. This is all about creating more safe neighborhoods in the city of Milwaukee. And ShotSpotter has been a very, very, very effective tool to help us reach that goal.
2 weeks ago, someone was shot, unfortunately, in front of a supermarket, and the police got there immediately because of ShotSpotter. That man is alive today because of ShotSpotter.
It has given us a neutral tool to engage in a safe conversation, and it has allowed us to be much more responsive to parts of the city that in the past have not always felt like they got adequate attention from our police department.
Well, I do believe it builds trust, and it takes more than that, but I think when you start to invest in a community such as putting up ShotSpotter cameras and more officers going into the community, I think that's where your trust begins.
Our community and our law enforcement officials are very happy with the ShotSpotter technology. It certainly has helped our efforts in keeping our citizens safe, and we look forward to scaling up the ShotSpotter technology throughout the city of Camden.
We are very happy with ShotSpotter. In fact, 3 times since it was first instituted in 2011, we have expanded the area because it's been that effective.
We have seen ShotSpotter save lives in our communities, and for those communities throughout America that have to deal with urban violence, it is really an important tool for your police department to have. It saves lives. It also helps to solve crimes.
ShotSpotter is one of many tools and strategies that we use here in Oakland, but we have a good story to tell. Over the last 3 years in Oakland, shootings and homicides have gone down by more than 40%. We are a significantly safer city.
This is a simple tool that makes good common sense, and all I can say is I wish it was around in the 90s, because if it were around when I was leading New Orleans, I certainly would have deployed it.
I definitely would recommend other cities. I'd be more than happy to have some mayors come to my city and see what ShotSpotter does for us. It's not a gimmick. It's not just a high-priced tool. It's a tool that really works.
Any questions?
When did we have that previous presentation, Chief? A couple of years ago?
It was over 6 months ago. I'm pretty sure it was, but I can't remember the exact month.
My recent visit to Washington for the mayor's conference, I had talked to some of the mayors in regards to ShotSpotter. And I know we had Mr. Teachman here, I believe it was, that made...
Yeah, Ron Teachman.
That made the presentation before. And I spoke with him out there, and I asked the chief to put it back on the agenda too. Since we're coming into the summertime with, and we're experiencing more gunshots.
Right.
Not necessarily that they're victims behind the gunshots, but at least I think the deployment of our police to get there faster with this tool. So that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
I do have one question, though.
Go ahead, Chief.
Trish, some of the struggles that we have here are that also go on in the city of Chicago, and I know they deployed theirs just a little while ago. Can you speak to some of the successes that they've had?
Yeah, I can. And actually, I'll also recommend, too, any of you that have an opportunity to go to Chicago and see what they're doing, they would be happy to host any and all of you.
Right.
They have been tremendous having law enforcement agencies come visit them. So the history on Chicago is, I believe they had ShotSpotter for a couple of years in 2 of the districts and weren't really doing anything with it. There were some changes in leadership, and they made a push, it was a year ago, in District 7 and District 11, Inglewood and Harrison. And they have had, in the time they brought ShotSpotter in District 7, a 46% reduction in gunfire. In District 11, it's over 30%. They weren't sure the exact number. And that's in a year, in a year's time. Right now we're live, I believe, in 9 districts, but when 8 districts were up, they had 22% reduction in those districts. And keep in mind, it is a combination of things. They have what they call strategic decision support centers in these districts. They're all kind of like their own little police departments. And they have ShotSpotter in these rooms. They have pod cameras. They have a predictive policing or analytics tool called Hunch Lab. And they are hitting it out of the park using all that technology and chasing down gun crime. Zero tolerance.
Yeah.
Okay, Ms. Lane, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I know you and I talked before concerning, could you just let this board and the residents know the cost of this?
Yes.
And also the availability of grants.
Of grant funding.
that type of thing.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Mohammed. I had meant to do that. I'm sure that's a question everyone has. ShotSpotter does a couple of things in terms of funding. We will talk to anyone at any point in time, whether it's a medical group, any sort of private employer, a foundation that might be willing to put money forth for a city or village's purchase of ShotSpotter. We also have a grant writer on our staff. She works for a firm in Washington, D.C. She's on Capitol Hill. She has worked with us for over 10 years. Her name is Amanda Wood, and she works with our customers on grant funding for their initial purchase, expansion, or subscription renewals of ShotSpotter. And she monitors that federal pipeline. She has actually turned us on to opportunities that we did not know existed with Homeland Security and HUD money. A lot of police departments think about Department of Justice funding. They don't realize that HUD and Homeland Security can be used for ShotSpotter. We're actually on the equipment list for them. So it's an allowable expense. And anyway, what Amanda will do is she will talk with you about what's available. She will review language, provide sample language, and work hand in hand with your grant writer to get a grant together, and then she'll follow it through the process. The real strength I see in her is because she's on Capitol Hill, she can socialize your grant with the right agencies so that when it comes up in the pile, they're already familiar with you and your program and your objectives. So now on to cost. ShotSpotter is a subscription-based service. So all those sensors you heard the video talk about, all the implementation, maintenance, and repair of those sensors is ShotSpotter's responsibility. All the city pays for, or the village in this case, is a subscription, which is $65,000 per year for ShotSpotter.
That's tailored for our village.
Yeah, it's kind of, our pricing is pretty transparent. It's the same for everybody. The nuance here would be we normally do a 3 square mile footprint minimum. It's got to be a contiguous 3 square miles as well. But given the size of the village, you're just over 4 square miles, 3 might be a bit much. So we might have to scale that back a little bit. But I can't imagine any situation where we would do less than 2.
Okay, so what's the radius?
So it's a square mile footprint, and it covers, when we build these sensor arrays like what you saw in the video, it covers that square mile, basically.
Okay, but we're at 4.8 miles, so we're closer to 5-mile radius.
Right. But usually what we find is that people don't need it all over the entire town. There are spots where you've got trouble areas, and what we typically do is we get the crime data from the police department and map it out. And actually what you saw right here is a sample of a crime map, so or a heat map. And so we looked at 2 different coverage areas for this prospective customer. And then you kind of pick, sometimes we move the boundary a little bit this way or that way, but we want to put the sensors where the crime is, where you actually have activity. And chances are it's probably not the entire, I think it's 4.17 square miles here.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question, Mayor?
It kind of. How far data should we collect?
So we go back 2 years to look at the data, and I can send the chief a data request that outlines what we're looking for, and he can have his folks send it over, and we can make a map so that we can figure out what the coverage looks like.
Okay. If we wanted to go to an expansion, how's the expansion?
So an expansion is pretty easy. So let's say you've been a customer, you've got your footprint, and you wanted to add a square mile. Then that would be $65,000 plus $10,000 to bring on the sensors. We charge a little bit for implementation. That's not something you pay annually. And we probably wouldn't need to charge again for training. So it would just be $75,000 to add a square mile.
Okay. And say if we get ShotSpotter, we have it for 2 years, we have a noticeable reduction in a particular area. Can we lower the subscription? Can we move it to another area if needed, or? We
can't move it because the sensors are fixed, but it's an annual subscription. So if at any point in time, I mean, the ideal situation would be 2 years later, you wouldn't need us anymore, right? And you wouldn't have to pay it. But it's only an annual commitment every year.
Okay, and where are the sensors placed?
So first, we like to start with municipal buildings, deal with you, Mayor, to hook us up to get permissions on those buildings, school superintendent for school buildings. Then we start getting permissions from private building owners, commercial and residential. We like to be high up, so definitely above tree cover, and if we can't find the right buildings, then we'll supplement with utility poles.
Okay. What about training for the officers?
So we do provide training for the officers. We provide training not for your dispatch center, because they're going to get a little pop-up too.
Okay.
Training for your officers, for command staff. We have separate modules for everyone. And that's the $10,000 onboarding, training, and best practices.
Is there any fixation you need for the PDAs in the cars or any special equipment?
It's, the software itself is a web client. It's web-based, so it's pretty easy to deal with. On the phones, it's something you get out of the App Store.
Okay.
Or on a tablet as well, out of the App Store or whatever the equivalent is for Android.
And the time for installation?
I think you could probably plan on a month per square mile. And really the gating factor is the permissions. And the municipal buildings are not the problem there. It's sometimes the private permissions take a little bit longer to get. We embed a project manager here in Dolton, and they come out every day and work with different folks trying to get them to sign up to let us put a sensor on their roof.
Okay, Ms. Lane, I want to get back to price again.
Yes.
The $235,000 out the door.
Out the door.
Can you break that down, what that cost includes?
Yes. So per square mile, it's $65,000. So the annual subscription for a 3 square mile footprint would be $195,000. The extra on here is for initial implementation. So there's a one-time training fee of $10,000. Come in and train everyone. We also work with your department on best practices as a part of training, which helps the department really deploy that solution in a way that makes sense for them. We talk with them about what other agencies do and let them adopt things that can help them do more for officer safety, community outreach. Then there is the $10,000 per square mile for installation. That's our project manager, that's our installers. We subcontract that with certified electricians to get up on the buildings and put in the sensors. And that covers all of our installation costs, probably in year 3 if you stay with us, right? The ongoing subscription. We tend to take a loss on the installation. We don't charge what that costs us, because we're confident in our solution. Most of our customers stay with us, and we're confident that folks will stay.
So you mentioned possibility of us not needing the total 3 square miles?
Yeah. It's something I'd have to talk back with my folks at headquarters on, but chances are with 4.17 square miles here, if I have that number correct, chances are you don't need a full 3.
Okay.
You might be a little shy of that. So we'll have to get the crime data and look and see what that really looks like.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a possibility if we accept a subscription, we go through a year, then we analyze the data from that year, we say, we don't need it in this area. Is there a possibility of getting a reduction on the subscription?
We haven't had that happen. The crime doesn't tend to move too much unless you pull down a huge building and disperse a population. I don't know that it changes too much. At least that's my sense of it and what I hear from folks that we talk to and internally at the company.
Okay. Chief?
No more questions.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. And like I said, if any of you want to go to Chicago, Chief knows how to get a hold of me.
Okay.
I understand that Calumet City will be going live soon.
Yes, so Calumet City will be going live probably within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
So they will be one you can also go see, and it'll be right next door.
Yeah, and how many units are going in?
So they're 3 square mile footprint.
3 square, okay.
Yeah, started small, and hopefully that's all they'll ever need.
Right.
Without exposing any confidentialities, were they able to secure some type of grant funding in the example that you used?
No, they used different funding for it. They found it, I don't want to say they found a bucket of money. I don't know that really ever happens, but they had some money that they could use. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
For your payments, is this an annual subscription? I mean, you pay it annually, or is it a monthly? How's it paid out?
Paid annually. Yeah. Great question. I should have mentioned that. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you very much for your time, and I do hope to see you all again sometime.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is item B, employee furlough days. This was put on the agenda by Trustee House.
I just wanted to at least have it as a discussion point topic. Last year, roughly around July, we did implement employee furlough days, and about 3 months later, we rescinded the employee furlough days, but there were some employees that did take the initiative as a cost-saving strategy. Well, we implemented it as a cost-saving strategy, and it was later rescinded. There were some employees that took the initiative to get their employee furlough days out the way right up front, and as it was rescinded, it kind of worked to those employees' detriment. So it's roughly around $6,000 that I would be asking for my colleagues to consider that we reimburse those employees, because they do work hard. They took the initiative at the direction of the board, and I just wanted to open up a discussion to see if that's something that, as a board, we would be amenable to.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Trustee House. As we talked earlier, I agree with you, and I agree with those employees, because we did do a little survey of some, and they prefer to have the cash in hand as opposed to vacation days or days off. So as a consensus vote, I would vote yes to pay the employees for those handful that took the furlough days.
I agree to refund them their money back.
Okay.
I agree also, and also you had some trustees to contribute.
You want your money back?
Yes, I would like to have my money back.
I also agree.
I'm in agreement as well.
Okay, we got a consensus on that. Next thing on the agenda is item C, connection of water system to McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, and $3 car wash. Trustee Pearson.
Yeah, well, Ron, the engineer, is not here. I did have a lot of questions for him, but I don't know if Mr. Stacy was involved in the last look that we took at this to see if we could, it was something we want to do. What this is about is McDonald's, the $3 car wash, and Dunkin' Donuts on the west side of Sibley, down by Beggar's Pizza, for those that might not know where that's at. They're buying their water, even though they're in Dolton, they're buying their water from Harvey because something was broke. I don't know if it's a valve or a pipe or whatever. And those are big, well, one of them at least is a big water user. And so I just think that we should get them back over on Dolton water unless it's not cost prohibitive. So, Mr. Stacy, I don't know if you know exactly what's wrong, if it makes sense, or what the proper steps would be to take a look at this.
I'll check with Ron tomorrow. I know the issue was in the past that the water main was breaking under the bridge, the cost of repairs, the water main was freezing due to lack of use of water. When the car wash shuts down, you got McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts that really aren't big users, and the main was freezing up. So I can get with him tomorrow and see if he found anything else out on that.
Okay, it was something that I knew we thought about doing before, and since we raised the water rates on commercial, it was something that I think we should take a look at again, maybe get copies of, not copies, but look at the, try to find out what they are paying for water, how much usage they have, so we can see if it makes sense. Because if it don't make sense, we definitely don't want to do it.
Okay, I'll get with Ron tomorrow. Maybe we can get a hold of Harvey, see what the water usage is over there.
Okay, thank you.
Didn't Calumet City come out and look at that map? I think we discussed it.
Yeah,
we discussed this before.
They came out. I'm not sure if Ron's got a proposal from them or not, but I'll check on that too.
I thought they had to go underground under the canal there.
Yeah, they can go underground or they can bolt it to the bridge there. When you go to bolting it to the bridge, you got to go through IDOT, get permits, make sure they come out, look at the structure of the bridge, make sure they allow us to tie onto the bridge again.
And I did speak with him last week, Mayor, and because I know he was involved before, and his recommendation was that we start with Matt, Stacy, and Ron to sort of look at it all over again, because he said that there was a lot of requirements from IDOT that you have to take a look at. So Ron would probably know about those.
Right. Is the old club Premier, that's serviced by the same pipeline, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Did they fix that water main break?
They were out there on Thursday. Okay. I met Rufus from Harvey out there.
Okay. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is item D, purchase of a new fire engine. Trustee Pearson, Chief Dyer.
Well, I'm going to let Chief Dyer do this. We had a committee meeting a few weeks ago, and the committee board decided that we should take a look at, or that we should move forward with purchasing a demo fire engine. We were just concerned about the finances at the time. Since then, Yvonne has gotten on board with the purchase of the demo, so I'll let Chief Dyer or someone from the fire department explain what that's all about, or I don't know who's going to do that.
I'm going to ask Lieutenant Cole to come up. He's going to explain the purchase of the new fire engine. It's a demo, and also the detriment of getting a fire engine, because we're down a couple of vehicles right now. So any questions, he'll elaborate.
Good evening, trustees. Do you guys have questions for me? Do you want me to go through the whole process?
This is a demo?
Yeah, so this is a demo.
How many miles on it?
It's only got like 4,000 miles on it. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's basically brand
new. The cost that we're talking about right now, is that the cost of just the engine or supplying the equipment for it?
So we're getting equipment with it also, and then we're also getting our motor rebuilt on 1447, which is one of our engines.
Okay.
That's been out of service for a while.
Okay.
So he's financing all this stuff along with the repair. Okay. And the demo's it'll be available as soon as they get the down payment.
Okay. What type of unit is it?
It's a Rosenbauer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is compared to our other units comparison?
We don't have any Rosenbauers right now. I know Chicago just purchased a bunch of Rosenbauers, or their name's getting a lot bigger in the area and stuff, but it's a real well.
It's just like a regular engine?
Yeah. So
now,
it's a
I know when we bought the other engine, there was a problem with maneuvering it in some close areas.
Yeah, this one's smaller than our last purchase, so
Okay.
it's about the size of what we have now with our older equipment.
Yeah.
So
Does it have a crew cab?
What's that?
Does it have a crew cab?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we're getting all the equipment for it also, so it'll come fully equipped, all financed. So the down payment would be $98,400, and then we wouldn't have a payment for 1 year.
And what's the term of the contract?
It's a 10-year contract. And then...
And warranty?
There's different warranties, like on the engine itself, on the chassis, on the pump. It's all like different, but anywhere from 2 to probably 10 years warranty, just on different stuff.
Okay.
If I can ask, can you speak to the need for it, or the significant need? I'm aware of it, but I think as we talk about our financial challenges, I think it's important that we express why it's necessary to purchase it, especially during these times.
Yeah. So basically, I was just saying we're replacing the motor on one of our engines. It's a 2004 engine, and it'll be a backup engine. But basically, our other engines are about 90,000 miles on them. They're really old, and we're just band-aiding them as we go. The engine itself, to repair the motor of the engine, is $30,000. That's including some work on the steering along with it, but either way, we'd have to come up with $30,000 just to repair a Band-Aid. And it's gonna, if we keep running every day like we are, it's just gonna keep costing more money. and you'll be spending more money every year just on band-aiding this stuff. So,
What's the mileage on the last engine that we got? What's the present mileage on it?
that one is, I want to say 30,000 miles, right around 30.
And we've had it for, I think, 3 years.
Yeah, it's a
So
2015.
we're averaging about 10,000 miles a year.
Yeah, probably like that. So.
Okay.
And then with the purchase of this, our other engines were 2004s, so we definitely got, 14 years out of them at this point. So we'll be good for a while with this new purchase, and then our fleet will finally be full again. We'll have backups and backup engines and stuff also. So.
Okay.
And when will we be, if we do this, when do we take possession?
We would take possession, I believe, right away. They'd have to do some work as far as mounting our equipment. I'd work with them on that. So we'd probably be a month, maybe a month out, just getting the equipment ordered and mounted on there.
Does that include hoses?
That includes hoses, yeah. Includes everything.
Okay.
Also replacing our extrication equipment it's so old and they hardly can't even get parts for them anymore, but they would also replace a lot of that stuff.
Are we going to be able to house it inside?
Yes.
Along with the other ones?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you explain to the trustees and to the residents about the capacity of the water and the necessity of another truck because of the water usage at the one truck that we have?
Yeah, so basically we've been down to, we have a fire truck, and the fire truck's the one with the ladder on top, and that only carries 250 gallons of water, and we've been down out of service just with that running. Now our fire engines, that carries our water, it's 750 gallons of water each one. So right now we have 2 engines running, but we have one that has to be sent out to Minnesota, northern Minnesota, and get northern Wisconsin, I'm sorry, and get the water tank repaired, and that's going to be out of service for a few months. So I've been not sending that out because I have nothing to replace it, and once that goes out of service, then we're going to be down to the truck with just 250 gallons of water on it. And for us to safely fight a fire with 250 gallons of water, it's not safe at all for the residents, for us.
Jeremy, let them know the response, the in-town response opposed to the out-of-town response with the truck, because we have 3 engines in town and we have 1 truck. The one engine is out of service 1447. So now we're running with 2 engines. If that engine goes down, so in town we respond with 2 engines. The truck is used for mutual aid out of town. So we really don't use the truck to fight fires. We don't use the water on the truck. The importance of having the 2 engines is 750 gallons on each engine. Now you have 1,500 gallons of water to respond in town. So that's the real importance. And if we lose another engine, then we'll be down to 1 engine and 1 truck. So buying this new engine will be beneficial to the town and the citizens and all.
So Trustee Pearson, you want a consensus vote tonight?
Yeah, I would like a consensus vote so that we could actually move forward with the down payment and getting a truck, because we've really been trying to get this done for, I don't know, a couple months now. 3 years. Yeah, 3 years dating back to Chief McCain's time. But yeah, we need to move forward, so I would like a consensus vote, and then Yvonne could move forward with getting the check sent out.
Okay, well, based on talking to Ms. Redmond, she said we can't afford it, so my vote is yes on this.
Actually, the funds for the down payment is coming from one of our bonds. So what's the exact cost of the engine?
Total, the engine itself, or just equipment, everything we're financing? Is that what you're looking for?
No, the cost of the engine.
The engine
with
itself
the
is
equipment.
$350,000.
$350.
And then
Go ahead.
It's $30,000 for the repair of our other engine, and the rest of it's just equipment. Then at that point, total finance of $492,000.
What's the difference in cost of a regular engine and a Quint?
And a Quint?
Yes.
Quint's probably going to be close to $1 million. I'd say somewhere in that area, 900. I believe we did price some out, and they were anywhere from 800,000 up. I think that might have 850,000 probably and up.
And a Quint unit is if a unit It's a fire engine that actually has the ladder attached to it, which is a smaller version of our hook and ladder, right?
It's a smaller version of the tower ladder.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a combination, engine and truck.
Okay.
Next year's purchase.
Sorry I asked.
No, if you want that one instead, we can. That's
Yeah. I'd like to have one. I mean,
Next year's
it serves as a, it serves as a, two things. I mean, as soon as the truck gets there, you got the ladder and get the firefighters up to the fire right away. So, okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes.
you did say that the funds was coming from one of our bonds.
Yes.
The down payment.
The down payment.
Okay, and then we don't have to pay this for 1 year.
1 year, yeah.
And then what would the payment?
And then the payments at that point
After
are
that.
$49,718.25. And that'll be one.
You think this is
It's
less
annual payment.
Correct.
than fixing the $30,000?
Well, this includes fixing
Truck.
the $30,000 engine, but it would be a backup engine at that point. That's what's great about it, because otherwise you just have to come up with $30,000 to Band-Aid an engine, and you're still not getting a new one.
Okay, so I'm a little confused with you guys.
Okay.
I'm for it. I'm just asking
Yeah,
questions,
no, that's
so
fine.
everybody be on the
I'll
defense.
try to
in here.
explain it better.
So you think we should fix the truck that you have and purchase a new truck?
Correct.
So now you will have 2 trucks.
Right, but one would just be a backup engine, because it's
So why?
2004.
So why would we make more debt of $350,000 if we're fixing the problem by paying the $30,000 for the truck?
Well, even brand new stuff breaks. Just like if you bought a brand new car, it's got to go in for service. It's going to break down still, and what we put the stuff under,
So
fires.
you don't think we should wait on purchasing a new truck since we're fixing the old truck and then see where our finances are, then purchase
The problem is when we fix the other truck and we keep running it the way we are, we're going to keep spending more and more money on it just to Band-Aid it. It needs so much work, and they're basically falling apart.
So if we're Band-Aiding it, why would we pay $30,000? Why fix it?
Trustee.
Because it's good for a backup.
For a backup, because if we don't have a backup,
Right, but it could break in a week or 2 weeks, so why
and
spend
it could, but if it's
$30,000?
not running because it's sitting in the firehouse and we have our brand new engine running, it's not going to break down.
So
because it's not
the the
going
second
out.
the backup engine's going to be fixed with the 350 they're throwing that in, because we're purchasing the new engine.
They're
If we
including
didn't
that.
purchase it, they wouldn't be getting fixed. We would have to pay a separate $30,000. But since we're going to buy their engine, they're going to fix it for us and include it with the 350. Correct?
Correct. Yeah,
so
so
it's no
basically
extra.
you're getting
It's not
fire engine
30
for
plus the 350. It's just 350,
which is
and they're
really
going to fix it for
unbelievable.
us because we're purchasing it.
Okay, and that's fine, but I'm just saying for the record, I thought we was broke. I don't understand where all this money coming from for all these departments. I just want to put that on the record for me, for Trustee Henry. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Okay. All right. Next thing on the agenda is item E, potential fire department revenue sources. This is also put on by Chief Dyer.
I'm sorry, Mayor, did we have a consensus on that?
I was just going to point that out, Mayor. We have Trustee Pearson and Mohammed as a consensus to go ahead with the purchase of the fire engine. Are there any other and we heard from Trustee Henyard. She may want to add further on the consensus issue, but are there any other trustees that are in consensus with moving forward?
I'm in agreement.
I'm in agreement also.
I'm in agreement.
Okay.
You ready? Okay. Item E, potential fire department revenue sources. Chief Dyer.
I'm going to ask Engineer McCain to come up. He's going to present some stuff to you guys.
We on? All right. Good evening, Mayor, Madam Clerk, Board of Trustees, Department Heads, and most importantly, the residents of our fine community here in Dolton. On behalf of Chief Dyer and the members of the Dolton Fire Department, I will be presenting several revenue-generating ideas that can be beneficial to the community by recouping costs for services rendered, so that may help out with some of the costs with the purchase of a new fire engine. As a stakeholder within the community, the Dolton Fire Department is seeking the Village of Dolton's Board of Trustees' consent and approval to be part of the solution here tonight, as we attempt to remedy a portion the financial shortfalls that we've been talking about. And tonight, hopefully that'll be the first step in talking about moving forward with that. Basically, a year ago, these ideas were brought forward, not formally in front of the board tonight, but in different discussions with different individuals within the administration. Then 6 months ago, I had Yvonne forward out these ideas to everyone, and unfortunately at that time we did not get a response back. Basically, the fire department, not only are we here to protect the residents of the community, we're also seeking to service the community the same way as the police department, also and to bring in revenue, which we have that opportunity to with different avenues in doing so. One of them that we talked about in the past, and hopefully you had a chance to read through the synopsises from last year. If not, I will forward them again if you guys agree with them tonight. But the first one would be generating a revenue idea through the execution of a contract with Fire Recovery USA. Basically, we have an ordinance put in place back in 2013 in regards to that, where we bill for services rendered. We want to recoup costs through the insurance. And basically, the Fire Recovery would have the opportunity to bring in, and this is through their forecasting from a company a couple years ago, of $144,000. So basically, we're going out for the auto accidents, we're going out for rubbish fire, CO calls, any hazardous materials incident, and we would bill then the property owner as far as for the services rendered. So that would have a potential of $144,000, which we obviously are desperately needing at this time. The second one is in regards to the Fire Prevention Code, make an amendment to that ordinance. That's 15-048. Currently, we bill $100 for each commercial fire inspection, okay? Now, we would also like to make an amendment to that and include inspections for any residential property that is under a landlord. So in addition to that, it could be $100 or something that we could discuss as far as any properties that we have throughout the community, that any multifamily dwelling, any unit, we would go in there and make sure it's safe from fire, make sure they have fire extinguishers, CO, smoke detectors, things of that nature. In the past, obviously, we've had some issues as far as some incidents inside some of the multifamily dwellings, had a couple fires, and luckily we were able to get out of those situations without anyone being injured. We just want to make sure the community is safe from fire. In addition to that, a central fire alarm maintenance fee, which we would share with our current dispatch center. Basically, we'd like to take all the fire alarms and have them essentially monitored at the dailies at BUDS at the dispatch center. So that way, it slows down on the responses of whatever vendor they may have, like an ADT, things of that nature, where it goes to one spot, and we can create a maintenance fee because it'd be our folks, our community, as well as our dispatch center who are monitoring. So it's another way to create monies with that. Unfortunately, I don't have the numbers with me because I got to see how many alarm systems that we have throughout the town from all the businesses. The rental properties, like we talked about, annual Knox box maintenance fees. Each company having a commercial, industrial, and multifamilies having a box on the outside, so if we get called for a fire alarm, we're not breaking down doors. We want to make sure that we have that Knox box there so we can get in there in the middle of the night and not having to wait for a key holder and cause any further damage if we have to get inside the dwelling. Fire alarm nuisance fee. I'd like to put that in place. It's basically going to be created for multiple false alarms. I'll give you an example. Let's say Menards, all right, and this hasn't happened, but let's say they have 3 fire alarm activations go off in 3 days. Obviously, there's an issue with their fire alarm. We want to make sure that we put a fee in place that says, hey, we've been out here 3 times in the last day. Get your fire alarm system fixed because obviously we don't have an issue. So basically, it's a nuisance alarm. We're not putting $1 million worth of our firefighters and our vehicles on the streets for no reason. Lastly, which is something that's near and dear to my heart that we talked about many times, which is the Advanced Life Support Ambulance Program. There's 2 different ways of looking at this. This program is supposed to be in addition to our current contract ambulance company. Basically, our contract with BUDS, they are supposed to staff 2 ambulances a day. I'm not taking that away. I want to do it in addition to, but because I believe that our call volume and severely needs a 3rd ambulance to be available. And I believe that our firefighters should be able to do this as we recoup some of the costs for services rendered. Now, this is billing, all right? This is billing that's already being done anyway, so it's nothing in addition to that's not already being done. And basically, if we staffed 1 ambulance, we would bring in approximately, and this is a range based on what's being billed and what's forecasted from multiple billing companies, $283,000 to $415,000. And that was based on 1,341 medical runs being ran by our ambulance. So there is potential to recoup some of the costs that are already being put out there anyways by the ambulance company. So it's nothing in addition to. Now, another way we can do this is, another option is create revenue with the ambulance program, would be the inception of the emergency medical tax. An example of this, and this is something outside the box, would be adding $3 per month to a water bill or $9 per billing cycle to create approximately $288,000 of income towards enhancing emergency medical services for the community. This option would eliminate the billing for each response for Dolton residents. So basically, there's different options out there. I just want to bring it in front of everyone today formally, and something that I believe we need to move forward with, as the fire department could also help remedy some of the financial solutions in the community. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
Couple for you. Emergency medical tax that you would add to the water to get that to recoup $288,000. How much on my water bill would I see added? And of course, it would show that that's what that fee was going for.
$3 a month or $9 a cycle if you do it every quarter. Yeah.
And on the 9 per quarter. Hold on one second. And this one for the advanced life support, you said billing is done already. If we were to add an ambulance, who actually would do the billing?
The billing, we would join up with a billing company, and that's where I got the numbers from. We're from 2 different companies that forecasted it for us.
And I think we've talked about this on numerous occasions. You did a cost comparison analysis between South Holland and who else? It was
Calumet Park.
Cal Park.
Yes.
And their numbers are close to this, even though Cal Park
is smaller
than us.
Yeah, Cal Park, based on their calls, was 269,573. We're going back to 2015, and South Holland was 739,502, and that was in 2015 numbers. Obviously, I'd have to update that, but like again, we did this a year ago, but those were the numbers for both communities, and I feel that we would fall right in the middle of that.
But we have more calls than South Holland.
Correct, but we would only have, at this time, the funding to only staff one ambulance also, where they have multiple ambulances staffed.
How many do they have?
They have 2 that staff daily, and they have a 3rd one that can come up if necessary. And Cal Park has 1 that's staffed daily and a 2nd one that can come up if necessary also.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you.
Yes, trustee.
With the ambulance that we have now,
Yes.
is it staffed with equipment
No.
at the present?
No, ma'am.
Do you have a price on how much that would cost us in order to do that?
Yeah, we have preliminary numbers that do need to be upgraded, but it'd be, as far as, not only do we have to get a 2nd ambulance, because you do need to have 2, because we have to follow all the rules and regulations within IDPH, but basic equipment on there would be in the ballpark of $50,000, give or take. And those were some things that were put in previous fiscal year budgets, but never made it through the cutting room floor.
Okay, thank you. Oh, one more question.
Yes, trustee.
The information that you have in front of yourself,
Yes.
is it possible we can get a copy of it?
Absolutely. I will forward it to everyone. That way you guys get a chance to digest it, and have any more questions, you can contact the fire chief or myself.
Thank you.
Yes.
What would it take to staff an ambulance?
You would need a minimum of 2 people per day if you staffed 1. So you need 2 people.
2 people per day?
Yes.
Okay, that's a 24-hour shift.
Correct.
And if we utilize the one that we have, could we adequately supply those services to our resident, or would we need a backup like dailies?
We would need a 2nd ambulance.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can we implement one and then use dailies as a backup?
This would be in addition to still keeping dailies as well.
The one?
Yes. Basically, our town, based on our call volume, we would need 3 staffed ambulances per day.
Okay.
Unfortunately, at this time, we can't do that. We still would need the contract services over a period of time until we created so much funding where, if the village chose to, phase it out, if not, keep the partnership.
Yeah.
But having 1 ambulance staffed is necessary.
Okay. If we got 2 ambulances and had the manpower, how much would that actually, how much service could we actually provide, whereas not being able to utilize dailies?
Statistically, we have to run the numbers and see where we're at with that, because there will be times we're a very busy town, and sometimes we get hit with 3 or 4 calls in progress, or we're tied up with a fire. So it would have to be something that needs to be analytically taken care of through the numbers, discussed administratively, contractually with the union and things of that nature. So it's something that doesn't happen overnight, but it would be very beneficial for the community to have 2 ambulances or even 3 staffed. Unfortunately, finance would probably only allow 1 at this time.
Now, if we implement the ambulance service, would that alleviate our fire engines going out?
It would reduce it for certain calls based on NFPA 1710 standards.
Yeah.
There's your garden variety, your stub toe call, or your individuals that need an ambulance for psychological responses. Those are calls typically that the ambulance could handle on their own. Okay. But chest pain, shortness of breath, any trauma would still need a fire engine response just for the fact of manpower on the scene.
But it could significantly reduce the mileage and the hours on our engines if we were to staff 2 ambulances.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions?
In comparison to cost?
Yes, sir.
The cost of the manpower versus the cost of the reduction of the uses of the engines.
That would be something Jeremy and myself would have to work with the administration on figuring out that actual number. But to make this a successful program, and I don't want to speak ahead of myself, but I'm sure the fire chief during the getting the budget in order sessions, we would need some additional manpower as well.
Yeah. But it could help with the longevity of our engines.
It definitely would help, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, next thing, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Engineer.
Thank you. You guys miss me?
Sorry about that. Okay, next thing on the agenda is item F, the purchase of automated external defibrillators. Chief Dyer.
This isn't necessarily for the fire department, it's for the village, and Deputy Chief Rush is going to present this. We want to buy 4 AEDs for the village, 1 at each building, 1 here at the village, 1 at the police department, 1 at Public Works, and 1 at Station 1, our firehouse. So he's going to give a presentation on the AEDs.
4, okay. And the ones that are being that will be placed at the buildings, who would actually use those? The fire department when they get here? The ones that the defibrillators that are going to be placed in each of these buildings, is that usage for the employees or for the fire department?
It's for anybody. I mean, so we did a class. We did 4 classes. Okay. We had 4 CPR classes put on by the fire department and Buds for free for the village employees, and they'll be able to use AEDs in case someone comes in to pay a bill, whatever, something happens to them, or one of us, something happens to one of the workers here, we'll be prepared to help them reach.
But no one should use it unless they're trained on them, right?
No one should use it unless they're trained for it. And we did have a few classes. He's going to give you the numbers on all of that.
Okay, thanks.
Well, good evening, Mayor, Board, and Madam Clerk, fellow residents, and also our employees. It's my duty to present to you this evening the synopsis that Chief Dyer was just speaking about moments ago. And what we'd like to do is the Dolton Fire Department EMS Division is seeking to purchase 4 AEDs, that's automatic external defibrillators, to enhance early intervention for cardiac events within the village managed facilities. That's Public Works, the Police Department, Dolton Village Hall, and also Dolton Fire Station number 1. The fiscal impact on this, the Emergency Medical Services, the Dolton Fire Department, has researched and submitted the following quotes for consideration. The first one being Alpha is the Electrotech. It's 4 certified Zoll AEDs plus semi-automatic AEDs at $850 per, which is about $3,400. The second one would be a Zoll Medical Corporation AED plus at $1,995, which is discounted at $1,376.55 for 4 of them, $5,500, $5,506.20. Our recommendations are the Village of Dolton Fire Department EMS Division is seeking the consent and approval of this board to purchase the above mentioned items there. The background, no matter what statistical source you look at, the reality is the majority of people who experience a cardiac event, cardiac arrest, will not survive, since these deaths usually occur without warning and their survival rates drastically decrease if treatment isn't received within minutes of the onset of the cardiac arrest. The likelihood of an SCA, which is the sudden cardiac arrest, a victim leaving the hospital with all neurological functions is slim and intact. Or it's intact is slim, excuse me. An automatic external defibrillator is critical in saving lives of AEDs or SCAs, that's sudden cardiac events. AEDs is located in public places to increase their accessibility. Bystander use of AEDs in conjunction with quality CPR has statistically shown an increased survival rate over patients who must wait for EMS help to arrive. Those who receive immediate help are generally reported as having survival rate up to 3 times higher. Within the last quarter of 2007, the Dolton Fire Department, in conjunction with Buzz Ambulance Corporation, targeted CPR training, excuse me, for village employees, not only for early interventions, but statistics has shown early defibrillation increases better patient outcomes for witnessed out-of-hospital cardiac events. So actually, in 1978, the first AED, automatic AED, went into service. And over a period of time, it has evolved in 1980 and up to the day today. We've had AEDs and we've used them with great success. So if I had to entertain any questions you may have.
Yes, sir.
So, excuse me, as the chief had said over here, in the last quarter, we did create first phase of CPR training. The second phase would be obtaining these devices, and the third phase would be ongoing training. So, Trustee Mohammed.
Yes, sir. Thank you. What is the difference between the Electrotech and the Zoll? It's about a $500 difference. So, but what's the advantage or disadvantage of either?
Well, Electrotech is actually a Zoll device which has been recertified, re-warranted, and put back into service.
Refurbished?
Refurbished, pretty much, yes.
That's why it costs less.
That's why it costs less.
Does the same.
But it does come with warranty, and it does the same thing as a new one.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now, are these devices attached up to electricity, or are they rechargeable batteries?
They are rechargeable batteries.
And how often should they be tested?
They're actually tested every day for the fire department. But for, say, like the police department or any other venue,
yeah,
it comes with different types, actually. And it'll tell you when services or testing is needed. Once a month, 2 months, or whatever it may be.
Okay. And then the fire department would test them?
Well, actually, it can be done by where it's used, such as the police department or public works. But we can't test it.
You can't come out and test it.
It's very easy.
It's as easy as pushing a button. It'll be a green. If you push the button and it's green, that means it's good.
Right.
It depends on which one you get.
Okay.
Right.
Can it be placed by my office?
By your office?
I may have to get you your own.
If you wish. They do have a mayoral device, so.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions?
Any other further questions, please?
Okay, can we get a consensus on this?
And this is for the village. It's not for the fire department. We're recommending this for the village.
Right.
So, I mean, it's for the
employees or residents that come in, pay bills, that kind of stuff.
You may have seen them in the airports, train stations.
Right.
Lincoln School has them.
Yeah.
You know,
Melanie Fitness has one.
Melanie Fitness has them.
Right.
So this is really nothing new, but a much needed device.
Yeah. In addition to what we have now.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Need a consensus tonight?
I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, $3,400, yes.
At this moment, I'm going to wait until speaking to the finance director before I can go along with it.
Well, I'm in favor.
Mayor, you stated in addition to what we already have. What do we already have?
You said we had one in Melanie Fitness Center, and where else?
The school.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I thought you meant in this facility.
Yeah, no, just
none of the facilities we have right now, but Melanie Fitness has them, and the schools have them. Most of the schools have them.
They funded their own?
I believe they did.
Okay.
I believe they did, but I know they are there.
I'm in favor.
Yes, ma'am.
And we might have to, Trustee Denton and I took the CPR course over at the fire department, and I just purchased 2 units for, we only had one at my factory, and we just purchased 2 because we saw how important it was to be able to get to that person. It could really save a life, because without it, you're waiting on an ambulance. And if you have the training, it's so important that the $3,400 is minimal. So I'm definitely in favor for it.
Since you have it in your workplace, have you seen it in action next?
We haven't had an accident here in Chicago, but we did have one out in our Bryan, Ohio facility. And they had the training, and they were able to save the guy and until the paramedics got there. Yes.
Okay, no further. I think we got a consensus. Trustee Henyard?
I think we should do the budget so I can kind of know what the finances look like before I continue to spend money.
Yes, trustee.
Yep.
Oops. It's time for some medicine.
Okay, I think there's 4 to 2. Okay. All right, next thing on the agenda is item G, status. Trustee Pearson. First one is the hiring of a water department director.
Okay, Mayor, I just wanted to ask you, where do we stand with that? I think we tabled it. We tabled that, and I don't know if we have to bring it back or if that's something you could bring back. Maybe the clerk knows the answer to that.
Since the board tabled it, it would have to be taken from the table by a vote of the board at a voting board meeting. You're free to discuss anything tonight, but to take any action on it further, it would have to be taken off the table at a voting meeting.
Okay. Well, I put it on because I think we need to get somebody in right away, and I know that the mayor had put something on the agenda in the past, but Mayor, maybe you could speak on it so that we could get it back off the table, and I just think we need somebody right away.
Well, that's what I thought also when I put it on the agenda, and then the board chose to table it. So at this moment, as the clerk said, the board have to bring it back up out of the table position. So
okay,
it has to be done at a regular board meeting.
We can do that at the next board meeting. I don't know if anybody had any questions.
Yes, I did. Again, this is for discussion, Mayor. If you just give us some insight or some detail or some kind of comprehensive plan that you had in mind for bringing on the director, so we can know what changes or improvements that will be made upon the hiring of this director.
Well, I think that all of us agree there's a problem in the water department, and I think that there needs to be a little bit more close monitoring, not of just the water department, but the water meter readers. And I think someone should, I think the employees that are in the water department right now are so overwhelmed that any addition that we add there would assist with a lot of the complaints that we get and the accuracy that we do with the things that we process in the water department. Anything else?
You have somebody in mind for it, Mayor?
I do.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about him?
I think we can go into that once it's brought out of the table position, put back on the agenda.
Okay. The next item was hiring of a village administrator. Can you tell us where we are with that one?
Well, same thing. You know, when other village administrator left, I thought that we needed a village administrator. One of the trustees here said that Janice Johnson, our finance director, was doing a yeoman's job in doing that. They don't handle total day-to-day things that a village administrator would do. So here again, we're left without hiring one.
But I thought we were moving forward with looking, and we put an ad out on a couple sites.
We put an ad out for a village administrator, but then it was brought to the attention that they thought that Janice Johnson and our finance person was doing the job. So
this before.
No. There was no reason to, entice people to come here and waste their time if the board thought that they were doing the job that was needed for the village administrator.
Let me make a correction since that was directed toward me. about my mentioning, and again, I'll say it again, that they are doing a great job, the two persons I named. We need to know the status, Mayor, of where we're at with the hiring of a village administrator. There have been applications that's come forward to the Human Resource Department and resumes that have been forwarded to your office. We'd like to know what is the status of hiring a village administrator for the village of Dolton.
Trustee Muhammad, I can't make it any clearer to you. We have accepted applications. After and within that application process that we've accepted them, you mentioned the fact that you thought that our director and our finance person was adequate enough to run the operations on a daily basis. So there was no need to bring people in and waste their time and waste our time to try to hire a village administrator. Plus, there was an issue with the salary. I know our old village administrator was making $100,000 a year, and then I overheard one of the trustees said we're going to bring it back down to $78,000. So without clarity in the salary range, and without clarity in regards to whether we need a village administrator or not, everything stopped.
Okay, well, I guess we need to move forward by taking the consensus, because I was under the impression, Mayor, that we were looking for a village administrator, and that the applications were coming into you, and that we wouldn't get to see them because it was your appointment, but I thought we were moving forward. I am prepared to give my consensus for a village administrator tonight, because we do need one, and Janice and Yvonne and whoever else was working in that capacity or helping with the decision-making, they were doing an excellent job. But we do need a village administrator, because there are department heads that don't know who to go to, don't know where to go, or they can't reach out for that help that they need. So I give my consensus to move forward with a village administrator, and once we look out, move forward with their applications, then we can come up with a salary.
Okay.
Because I know what they cost. Okay. I understand that it is a costly position, but I'd like to see their qualifications before we settle on a salary. I would hate to say we could pay 100 and then the guy ain't worth but 80.
Okay. The night that I asked for a village administrator, it was brought to attention that Janice and Yvonne could do the job. Janice sat right there and said no. And I talked to Yvonne. She said no. So we stopped the application process. Now, it's pretty hard to put an application out and have people apply for a job when they don't know what they're going to get paid. If we start the application process out again, why don't we put a range based on experience or things like that? Maybe this is where we're starting, this is as far as we'll go. But to go through a process and say, hey, I don't know what you're going to make. I'm not sure how many qualified applicants we'll get to go in that position. So I think we have to have some clarity in regards to, and we have our human resource person back here. I'm not sure if she agree with that. I think we have to have some clarity in regards to where the salary range should be.
You definitely have to have that. I totally agree.
Okay, so why don't we decide tonight, first, in fact, if we're going to go through with the anticipation of hiring the village administrator. Come on up, Angela. And then secondly, what range are we, come to the podium, please. What range that we should be at in regards to, since you said you know what they cost, where should we start with a range salary-wise, so we can actually put that in the advertisement for the applicant? Angela, could you put some input in this? I'm not sure if you...
Absolutely. Are there any direct questions you'd like to ask besides whether or not there should be a salary range in there? Because most applicants are interested in determining what the salary is before they apply.
Well, I do have a question. You're our HR director. How would you go about it if nobody else was involved and you just had to hire an HR director? What would your steps be? How would you handle it, or what would you do?
What I would do is post positions in the proper locations, which would be government sites. I will put down a salary range, have certain requirements for that that range and for that position, interview, screen, determine if they're qualified applicants, and then based upon their experience, I would go ahead and base that salary range after it's presented to you all.
Okay, I only have one more question. I understand that they were posted somewhere. Did we have a salary range? And if not, did anybody stop you from putting one down?
When you all made the decision that you wanted to hire when there was some controversy upon hiring a village administrator, there was no salary range that was disclosed, so no salary range was put in the posting. We asked for detailed experience and for it to be verifiable so that we could review that information and then base the salary upon that, along with other villages within the area that has the comparable market size. That's what the goal was. However, we did not move forward because we did not have a salary range, and that was it.
I have a question. If you're done, Trustee Pearson.
Yes.
Okay. Currently, we have 2 jobs posted on our website that I'm looking at. I don't know if this is updated. We have a building inspector and an ASE certified heavy equipment mechanic. Are you familiar with those 2 that are posted currently?
I absolutely am.
Do we have any others outside of that that are posted?
Or that are available?
That are posted.
That I'm aware of, those with only 2 that are posted. The ones that were posted for the village administrator has since expired.
The ones that were posted for the village administrator, how many applications or resumes did you receive?
I can estimate you at approximately 20 to 25.
Okay, so 20 to 25 resumes or applications came in. They were all forwarded to the mayor's office?
They were forwarded, yes.
Not all of them.
Okay.
They were received in email.
Yeah.
Either I have them or the mayor has reviewed them, but not all of them, no.
Okay, so the 20 or 25 or so, where are they currently?
The physical applications are either in my email or in my desk.
Okay. And those persons had an interest in the village administrator's position, even though salary was not mentioned. Is that correct?
Most of those individuals who applied, once they sent the information via the email, they called asking what the salary range was. There was no information I could provide them with. I let them know that the application would stay on file for a minimum of 90 days, and we continue to look and move forward.
Okay, you mentioned a controversy that arose, which is why we stopped I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting you exactly. You said there was a controversy. I know that the approval that we had given so that it can be posted, I think it came through the mayor's office, to publish I think it was 2 different sites. What were they? Were they SSMA or some others?
There are approximately 3 to 4 sites, and they were government sites. They were posted.
And the time has expired to put those, or you took them down because of controversy. Could you clear that up so I can get understanding what you said about a controversy?
The websites allow you to pay for posting for a limited amount of time. That time has since expired. That's clarity.
You used the term controversy, and it was taken down. What was the controversy?
Tell me what you're trying to ask. Give me a better synopsis of what you're saying. I'm misunderstanding you.
We were looking for a village administrator, and you and I know this intimately because I'm the one that's been asking about it, that you referred me to the mayor's office. I'm saying the reason why they're not posted is because the deadline, or because there was some controversy that they're no longer being posted at these different government sites?
The deadline is why they're no longer being posted.
Okay. All right. Thank you. But my vote tonight is I concur with Trustee Pearson. We need to put notice out that we are in desperate need. I don't know if we want to use the word desperate, but we are in desperate need of a village administrator to bring in the department heads and organize and meet on a regular basis to do the business of the village. So my vote is to move forward and hiring a village administrator.
I have a question, and I don't know if you can answer the question. I really need to ask Trustee House and Trustee Muhammad, in searching for a village administrator, did you all get a chance to discuss that with Yvonne to see could we afford one?
I have not discussed it with Yvonne at this time.
So I think that we desperately need a village administrator, but also I think that we need to talk with Yvonne and see, do we have the monies to pay a village administrator with at this time.
I do have a comment on that, because I understand where you're coming from with that, trustee, but I truly believe we cannot continue without a village administrator, because I think it does more damage than it does good to save the money. I mean, even if we couldn't afford it, I think the turmoil that could happen behind not having a village administrator any longer could be horrific. So I think we would have to look at doing other things in the community, in the village here, to be able to afford a village administrator. Because as I said, day to day, department heads do not know who to go to in certain situations, and that could be a bad thing for this village.
I totally agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I would just like to ask Yvonne about the monies. What can we afford for a village administrator, so we would know what to offer them as far as their salary is concerned. And I totally agree with you. I have no problems with that. I just wanted to ask Yvonne that question, and I can give you be it email or telephone call, and give you my consensus over the phone. Thank you.
If I could, Trustee House, myself, and Ms. Redmond met earlier this week, and we will be having a committee, a finance committee meeting coming up soon. But first, we want to address the fee schedule and fine schedules. And once we do that, we will have a budget committee meeting, and we can fine tune that just to see where we're at as far as our budget is concerned. There are some preliminary numbers. I don't want to put them out there now because we're still in the process of working some of those numbers out. But look forward to a finance committee meeting coming up, probably before this month is out, and then we can have some more information on that. And it would also deal with the village administrator.
Thank you.
I would suggest, before we put any ads out for village administrator, to come up with some type of pay scale, where we're going to start, where we're going to end, based upon experience, or otherwise, like she said, Angela said, Ms. Blanchard said that after she received a lot of the applicants, they called and wanted to know where the salary range was. So I think we should take that in consideration before we put the application process
Mayor.
back in place. Go ahead.
I just got a statement.
Go ahead.
Are we doing a budget soon, so we don't have to go back and forth? That way we can budget for whatever the salary will be.
We probably will be starting budget. It's April.
Okay, I think we should do that, because everybody's spending money tonight, and we should actually sit down and talk as a board, as a whole, get on one accord with the money and how to spend the money. Because right now, everybody got different opinions of how to spend it. So I just think we should schedule a budget meeting. That way we can allocate money for the administrator, for whatever else people want or need.
I think that's a good idea. To be quite frank with you, and as you do the budget, we could probably go another 30 days, 45 days without a village administrator. We've been. I don't totally agree with department heads not knowing who to go to, because we're moving right along. But I think it's a good idea what you brought up, Trustee Henry, and also taking consideration those recommendations for increasing our revenue, that we can possibly use that in regards to the budget, as far as implementing those things and being able to afford some of the things that we want to do, move forward.
Okay, so can we plan it, or who will plan it? Because I know it was the administrator last year.
Well,
who will plan it this
Trustee
year?
House and Trustee Mohammed said they met with Yvonne, our finance director, and I think we should start our budget. I would say the 1st of April.
I agree.
Trustee House.
I answered it already.
Yeah, well, as Trustee Muhammad mentioned, we are scheduling a budget hearing meeting, so that should be coming within the week. Separate from that, we also want to look at making sure that we do have a plan A and a plan B for in the event that we can afford a village administrator, then what the salary range will be. In the event that we cannot, we need to have a proposal or a plan for what we'll do.
Okay. All right. Next thing on the agenda is village attorney.
There
Trustee
must have
Pearson.
been an error, because that is not something I thought I sent to the clerk. If it is, I had no intention to send village administrator. Village attorney.
Okay, that's all on the agenda. Next thing on the agenda is citizens address. Well, I'd like to make a couple announcements prior to citizens address. Now, we're going to limit the citizens address to 3 minutes tonight. So, we kindly ask you that you cooperate. Shad, you want to read these?
Thank you, Mayor, Village Clerk, trustees, and department heads, as well as residents. Just have a couple of things to mention quickly. One, I don't know if you all had the opportunity, but this past week we had coffee with the mayor. We had with us Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle, who was with us, as well as a discussion about diabetes. If you weren't able to see it, it is currently on channel 499 being shown, so you can see what happened, what transpired. A lot of good information was delivered at that meeting. This coming Saturday, March 24th, Entrepreneur and Business Resource Forum for Women. It will be here at the Village Hall starting at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can sign up, come listen, connect, and do. There have already been many registrations. There will, of course, be some people who will show up the day of the event. If you have any more questions, you can give me a call, 708-201-2960. And then finally, I guess I will turn it over to Chief of Staff Elizabeth Scott to tell us about the 3rd annual manufacturing event that's coming up.
You mentioned the other item there? Okay.
This is in May. I was going in chronological order, but
Okay.
I can if you want.
All right. Why don't you talk a little bit about our meeting with the SBA?
Okay. Well, recently we were, who was present, what we went over?
Yeah, what's in store?
Okay. Well, we had the opportunity, myself, Mayor Rogers, and Trustee House, met down at the U.S. Small Business Administration with Mr. Ferguson, who is the district director or the deputy district director, as well as the lead economic development specialist, Carol Harris, who will be with us actually on Saturday. They had some wonderful plans. We discussed many things about bringing a small business development center, possibly, or plans to bring small business development center out here to the village of Dolton to assist people who have small businesses and also desires for, to enter into the world of being an entrepreneur. So there were a lot of discussions. There were some things that you'll probably be hearing about over the next 2 weeks or so, the next 3 weeks, maybe a month. Most of them, a lot of it you'll hear on Saturday, actually, though. So if you are going to be present for the Women's Entrepreneur Forum, especially those women entrepreneurs that we have in the audience, there'll be a lot more information that Ms. Harris can deliver to you.
Yeah, and the SBA right now is looking for a south suburb satellite office. And I think we have the upper hand on getting that satellite office here in the village of Dolton. So it was a very fruitful meeting, lasted a couple hours. So they are, and Mr. Ferguson is the deputy director for the state of Illinois for the USSBA. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed that we can make that happen here in the village of Dolton.
Okay. Then in May, coming up, Mother's Day breakfast, Saturday, May 12th at 9 a.m. It's going to be at the Dorchester Banquet Facility. As you know, annually, Mayor Rogers has a day of recognition for the mothers in the village of Dolton. So that will take place Saturday, May 12th at 9. You can call 708-201-1690. We've begun receiving RSVPs for that event, so make sure it's always a well-attended event with entertainment and delicious food. And now,
and that's in conjunction with coffee with the mayor.
Right. It's typically the Saturday that we have coffee with the mayor. Of course, whenever it comes on a time when there's a holiday, we integrate both of them so we can make sure. So Mother's Day is coming up. So that will be what we do for that coffee with the mayor. Now, Ms. Scott, are you going to talk about the manufacturing hiring? Ms. Scott just did a promo for it, so you'll be seeing it on Channel 4 and 99 and also YouTube upcoming.
We're going to be having our third annual manufacturing and logistics hiring event. It's going to be at the Dorchester, April 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have several jobs. I actually spoke with the hiring event coordinators, and there's over 300 current positions that are available. Some of them are CNC operators, field technicians, machine operators, selectors, assemblers, general laborers, and whatnot. We're also going to have the Cook County Juvenile Justice Job Placement and Readiness Program for youth, Chicago Urban League, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, South Suburban College, Governor State University, and Prairie State, which are going to be offering non-credit program job training courses so that you'll be able to accept some of these jobs in the future. We're also going to have senior hiring task force there and a lot more. So please, if you can, make it out. The other thing that we're going to start this April 4th, the same day, Wednesday at 5 p.m., we're going to have here at Village Hall the beginning of our Rain Ready Steering Committee. I met a couple weeks ago with South Suburban mayors and managers regarding flooding. There were representatives from all of the various municipalities. I was there representing Dolton, and we need you to come out. I need your input because I am a mouthpiece for the residents in regards to flooding. I'm going after several grants, and hopefully we'll be able to get some. I have a lot of plans for the community, and I have done extensive plat maps with Robinson Engineering on areas of flooding in Dolton. So please come out. I need your input. It's going to be April 4th, 5 p.m. It's going to last probably about an hour, so please come out.
And this program works. We were the highest awardee of money that was given to make repairs to some of the residents' homes. We received $350,000. So this program works. The other thing is that on this manufacturing event, this is not just a job hiring event that we just put on. People actually have got jobs from our by putting on this manufacturing event. People were hired right on the spot. And do you have any idea? I'll ask the employees, the potential candidates that were hired, Elizabeth?
In total?
Yes.
I know it was well over 400. And we were actually honored, actually the mayor was honored at a breakfast downtown because they had a campaign that was called the 1,000 Jobs Campaign. And their plan strategically was to get 1,000 people employed throughout the Southland. And what ended up happening is we actually helped them meet that goal by nearly half, just our municipality alone. So it's a really important.
400 people were employed from that manufacturing hiring event. The other thing was Ardagh Manufacturing, which is here in our town, that has over 400 employees, and we assisted with over 70 people getting hired there from our village, received the highest award for manufacturing in Cook County. So we were happy about that too. It actually helped bringing our job rate down from, what was it, Rashad, when we started?
15.1% down to around 8 or under 8, fluctuating.
Under 8% from 15.1% in a 2-year period with demand, I won't use the word demanding, but asking that the new businesses that come in town here, Taco Bell, Checkers, Menards, and with the resume writing program that we had, some of those people that were hired, some of the students that were hired on a temporary basis throughout the summer are still employed at some of those places right now after school. So these hiring events, the people that put them on, the ones that we ask that, don't come here if you don't have any jobs. So they actually have the jobs, and they've actually helped our unemployment rate here in the village of Dolton. Thanks, Rashad. Elizabeth. Okay, citizens address.
Good evening, Mayor, Trustee, Dolton residents. I did notice on the agenda there was no old business, but I do have a comment about old business. On last meeting, Pro Champs came up, and Trustee Pearson gave me a couple of villages that are using it. So I'm just here to say I did call them, and both of them did say that they're using them and they're pleased with them. So I did my work, and I'm happy now that I know a little bit more about them. The only thing that I would say,
What two villages were those?
South Holland and Calumet Park.
Okay.
But they both use Stan Urban as the representative, and from what I'm understanding, there's some integrity issues. So I would think that we would kind of vet the representative a little bit better. I don't mind the use of that company, but I do say that if we're going to do business with them, do business with people with integrity. That's one thing. The other thing is the Finance Committee meeting, is that going to be open to residents? Yes? So will it be hosted at a time that residents can come that work 9 to 5? It's going to be open to, yes?
What would be a good time for you? 6, 7, something like that?
I work 9 to 5, but I'm a little flexible, but I need maybe a day's notice or so, not the day
We
of.
do it within a 48-hour notice.
Okay.
But we can do it at 6, 7. That's... Okay.
He said we can do it between 6, 7, but I'm open as long as I get the notice, okay? And then also, I'm trying to keep it within my 3 minutes. Are we going to have a housing committee meeting soon?
Yes, we're actually planning to have one next week. Right now, we're shooting for Monday.
Okay. Then one last thing, I promise this is it. While I was doing my research and trying to figure out who's doing business in Dolton and trying to find out who people are, I still have not found anything on BP Capital. Nobody knows who they are. So that's still troubling to me, and I really wish that we can get some resolve on that, because we're talking about, and I agree with Trustee Henyard, we're spending a lot of money. And are we really looking at how this money is going out? We just gave somebody $30,000 when there's another way to do that without the cost. So I think that that needs to be considered again, the other entity that can do the same work that BP is supposed to be doing at no cost to the village. And that's $30,000 that will stay in our budget to allocate somewhere else.
I know that BP Capital was selling houses. I know that much.
I know nothing about them, and trust me, I've done it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe the clerk can enlighten you in regards to some of the houses that have.
They're selling houses.
Yeah.
There's some things about it just is not clear to me.
Right. Okay.
Good evening, residents. Okay, to answer your question, when they first came out with BP Capital, I went on the internet. I could find them nowhere. So the next time Don Meadows came out, I told him, I said, I find nothing but an oil company under BP Capital when I go on the internet. He said, oh, no. You have to look under Don Meadows. So he's representing himself as being BP Capital. Because if you go on the internet, there's nothing there. Absolutely nothing. Okay? And then another thing I want to understand, when they first came in, it was supposed to be no cost to the residents. Am I right or wrong? Am I right? Thank you.
Yes.
Now, all of a sudden, we're paying, they voted to pay this man $30,000. For what? What is he giving us for $30,000? The lawyer.
Yeah, they're saying it's two different programs.
Okay.
The BP Capital program, who the same attorney that we paid represented BP Capital, if you remember, when they made their presentation. And then he's also representing the village by filing liens to get that property. And I'm not sure, and some of them have already went through, Madam Clerk, I believe, okay, that were awarded to the village, right? So what happens to those houses? I don't think those houses should be to BP Capital because on one hand, they represented themselves as not costing the village anything, and then now we have the same attorney that's accepting those houses for BP Capital, representing the village and charging us $5,000 per house to file a lien and take it, which only usually costs about $500. So, but at one of his presentations, he said that it cost him $2,500 a house to process it, and then the other part was his fee. That's not true. I mean, to secure the lien on the house and to represent the village. So, anyway.
Okay, Mayor, I have a question. What is it that the land bank did? Isn't that what the land bank did when would they do it and for no cost to the village?
The land bank had taken some vacant properties and wiped the taxes out.
Okay.
In some cases, they gave the property back to the village sold the property. And one example of that is the Taco Bell. So, so anyway, when the board decided to go with BP Capital, I don't see the same service that the village actually benefits from it, you know.
But there is no BP. I mean, where can we find out information on BP Capital? I looked. Maybe the trustees can tell me where to find it because I can't find it.
Well, and I'm not sure who did the research, but the only thing we could find was that they were incorporated recently in the state of Illinois. There's really
it must have been since yesterday.
There really was no history.
When I asked the gentleman that said he was BP Capital,
yeah,
he said, no, do not look under BP Capital, look under Dime Metals.
Okay.
So that's misrepresentation.
Yes, we went to the Secretary of State site, and I think BP Capital was recently incorporated as a LLC. Don't quote me on the LLC part. Was it LLC or corporation? They were recently incorporated within the last 6 to 8 months as a LLC corporation. So
within the last couple of months, you say?
I said within the last several months. You know, when they made the presentation, we looked it up on the Secretary of State site. We couldn't find anything that was active, and then a few days later, it was active. So
if I go on my computer tonight,
we're past the 3-minute mark.
Okay.
Go to your computer, Secretary of State, look up corporations, put in BP Capital. It'll tell you the ones in good standing, ones not in good standing. You know. So.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. You could pull that whole arm down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Everybody can hear me? I wanted to first just touch on just a couple of things, not much. First and foremost, it is so good to see everybody in a mellow mood. Keeps me in a mellow mood. So that's a good thing. But I also wanted to say, we spoke and touched on so many things at the last meeting. It was hard for anybody to keep up with anything that was going on. It's like you had to pick and choose, and in some cases you didn't even know what to pick because it was so much that was being spoken about. But at any rate, one of the issues I do want to touch on, again, is that we're all aware that there's discord here within this board, and when no agreement can be met amongst all of you, why aren't those decisions, or why can't those decisions be pushed back to the citizens of Dolton? Why come we can't have a hand in making some of those decisions? Because what you're doing is you're telling us, you know what, yeah, you voted us in to do whatever it is we need to do with your money. Now let us do it. But because we see so much discord here within this village, and generally when there's discord at this magnitude, then there's a lot of vulnerability. People are vulnerable and can't make the right decisions sometimes, and sometimes we speed through making those decisions without doing the right resources, researching the right resources, or taking the right recourse. So why can't these issues that you guys get into disagreements with or can't make a decision on, why can't you push them back to us? Why can't there be a survey or a vote from the citizens of Dolton to kind of have a hand in spending our money? Did I not sound right, or?
I agree with you.
Well, isn't there a way that we can create an ordinance for something like that to happen? I mean, we create ordinances for everything. So why not? I don't think that that should be an issue, seeing it's our money. Why come we can't have an advice? And I know the reason generally when we pick somebody, we don't have the time, a lot of us, because we're either working, we've got jobs, we got this, we got that. We're trusting you to make these decisions for us. But because there is so much disagreement sometimes amongst all of you, and this is the mellowest I've ever seen this meeting since I've been coming here. But since there is so much disagreement sometimes, why come that can't be pushed back to us? Can't we create an ordinance or something whereas we can now play a part in what's going on in our village, so we can have a say also? And this is just not coming from the 7 or the 8 of you, but from the 23,000 people that lives here?
We're now past the 3-minute mark.
If I can speak to that a little bit, I'm in agreement with what you're saying, and I think for myself, and I would imagine for some of the board members too, after the board meeting is over, I will go out and speak to some neighbors or some people in the community that I want their feedback and their opinion. But at the present time, there is not a structured way of doing it, and I think that would be something that we can take under advice and try to find a way to do it. But feedback, or at least I do seek feedback from others before just making the decision.
Okay, thank you for that. And I wanted to know, what is it that I can do as a resident here in the village of Dolton to kind of help with you all? Because I mean, you know, I don't know you all personally. I don't know nobody here personally. When I come here to speak to you all, it's not to be mad just to be mad. I'm mad because of how my money is being spent. I'm mad because I'm not getting the answers about the things that I need. So where can I help you guys in making sure that we can move our village forward instead of looking crazy on YouTube every time we have a meeting?
We're past the 4-minute mark.
And I would be glad to talk to you away from here anytime, because in here it's always got to be a fight made. But if we can sit down and talk somewhere, I'd always be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
I appreciate that, Trustee Pearson. I'm in agreement also.
Ma'am, your 3 minutes are over.
You know,
Please, Mayor, please, is there anybody else other than this lady behind me that needs to see?
Okay.
Because they take up 2.5 hours of our time while we only get 3 minutes to say what we need to say.
We're at
So
5
when
minutes.
does it end?
Okay. The clerk wanted to comment on your question. Okay. And then, how much longer you want to go?
I'm not going to be long at all. I promise to God I'm not. I just want to just touch on a couple of things. That's it.
You gave us a warm-up session before you told us
Yes,
what you
I
wanted
did.
to do.
I always do.
What you wanted to ask. So if you just reduce that warm-up session, and but the clerk, Madam Clerk, wanted to speak to your question.
Actually, I can just add to what Trustee House said. There's certainly, at this time, there isn't a formal mechanism to survey the residents, although I know Mr. Schusch has been circulating a survey and has plans in the future to continue that by email. So anybody that wants to sign up on email is free to do that. And the trustees are certainly free to set up a structure to solicit residents' input. But under the Illinois Constitution, the decision comes down to the elected officials, this board.
Okay, thank you. And last but not least, of course, I am in agreement about something in reference to the hiring of the administrator. I think we do need to verify what funds are available. And if the person that we have there is doing a good job, why should we change? Why come we can't work from in-house, for one? The other thing is, before we do, and in case we don't go with that particular person, before we do hire an administrator, can we please do a background check? Can we please find out resources or references on this particular person so we know who we're letting into our business? Because we let something really wicked into our village, and it kind of destroyed us a little bit. You know, but I just want to know what I can do, what my part is in helping to get Dolton or move Dolton forward, because I live here and this village means a lot to me, and I've been here for 18 years. So again, I'm just asking where you need me at. I will be in contact with you soon, and also you too, Mr. House. I haven't forgotten.
What's your name again?
My name is Stephanie.
Stephanie, for the record, Stephanie. Ms. Stephanie, I don't think that You can't, what you coming back up here for?
They did it at the last meeting. I got,
Hold a minute. I don't think any member on this board would not meet with you and discuss, any issues that you want to get across. So, I'm open to it, and I think all the members of the board would be open to, talking to you. Okay.
Mayor, is there any way that we can have maybe a citizen board? I mean,
Yeah.
I think we need, I think we really need something to police this trustee board.
Well, I would suggest that if any citizen wanted to put a committee together or an organization together, and whether they want to address whether it's a housing issue, police matter, fire department matter, I think that all our department heads, all the trustees will listen to you. You get things done in numbers, and I think if you got enough organization and enough numbers there, I think it'd be unreasonable not to listen to you.
Because there's no agreements here. I mean, you can see this whole thing is one-sided. You got two people that's thinking on their own, and then you got the other ones that's following the pattern.
I hate to say this, but it's politics. I'm be honest with you, in some cases.
There's politics, but the politics are being played, like the young lady said. This is our money. This is not their personal battle with the mayor.
I agree with you. But, when you run for office, you got to take the bitter with the sweet.
Mayor, when we voted these people in, remember this, every last one of them sitting here, except for Tiffany, who ran on her own, ran under your ticket. Okay?
Well, hey.
And when they run on a person ticket, you're supposed to have like minds. That's all I'm trying to say.
Tiffany ran on my ticket the first time. But at any rate.
No, I'm talking about this last time she ran.
But, I don't think she didn't run by herself. But that's not an issue.
Okay,
but I'm going to say this. She was a hard worker.
Right.
And she got reelected.
Understand what I'm saying.
And she got reelected,
Right,
so,
exactly.
Hey, it is what it is right now,
But okay.
But at any rate, I understand exactly what you mean, but I'm not saying form a posse, but I think if you put a small committee together and wanted to address any one of these trustees, I think they would listen to you. Okay, I'm going to conclude here unless somebody get to the podium.
Waiting for you.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Put the mic down a little bit.
Good evening, everyone. I wasn't going to say anything, but I want to say this. I went to the Dolton dinner last week, and I sat at a table with some people that I didn't know, a couple of people I knew, and I was so embarrassed. She said, "You live in Dolton?" And she said, "Yeah, I saw you on the TV." I said, "Yeah, I was there." "What is wrong with those people?" I said, "I wished I knew." I was so embarrassed, but I just wanted to say one thing. The meeting was very nice today, and when you all look at it yourself, you'll say, "Oh, that's where we should act." Last time, it was horrible. It really was. Now, I'm just serious. I was embarrassed to say I was from Dolton, and I was going to say that, but they knew me, so let's iron it out before you get out here. You don't know how bad you look. I know you do, because you watch the TV. But anyway, another thing, I heard a lot of buying and a lot of purchasing and all this stuff, but on the other end, they're saying they have no money. I don't know how you can buy a lot without money. So when you find out, let me know so I can start buying a lot with no money. Thank you.
We got some calls in our office about who you were when we prayed for Dolton in your comments. So you must have left a lasting impression on some people. Okay, how you doing?
How you doing? This is my first meeting. I've been in Dolton for 30 years. My first time seeing a board meeting was last week, too. I'm not going to get on anybody. I just have a question about the Invest in Dolton program that I heard about, because it really intrigued me and the rest of my family members when I told them about it. So how can I find more information about it, or?
Elizabeth, you had that flyer? Okay. Right. She could You have it, Madam Clerk. Tomorrow, if you like, you can come up. What time will you be here tomorrow?
Here, let me give you.
She'll be here at 9. So somewhere in between 9 and 1, something like that. If you can come up.
Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
She can give you that information.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Hold on, sir. Trustee, she's going to give you a couple of business cards. You could talk to the ones directly, and that way you can get the actual facts on that program.
Thank you.
And you can also come and get the flyer from the clerk tomorrow. Tomorrow. She doesn't have it readily available for you. Okay, thank you. I'd like to get a motion to conclude this board meeting.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay. Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded to adjourn this board meeting. Let the record reflect that it is 9:51, and let's take a roll call. What was that?
Order, please.
Motion by trustee Henyard, second by trustee Denton to adjourn. Trustee Muhammad.
No exec session, right?
Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henyard.
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
9:51.